Good evening and welcome to the Monday Night Fan Zone. Simon here with you tonight. Phil off working tonight, so it's me, Simon, with you. Title of the show: No transfers, no manager, no clue. Might be something a little bit different. Actually, we're going to get into that in a minute. Talk about the game at the weekend, and also about the lack of comers and goings and what you think you need. So, get your comments in, get your thoughts in, and let's get this Monday night show cracking.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.
Right then. So, bit to talk about then this evening. It's been a while since we've had a bit to talk about. Really, it's been a bit of a long wait. Evening to you, Richie. Where's Phil tonight? Phil's busy tonight, so you're stuck with me. Apologies for that, but hopefully we still have a good show this evening. Richie, Andy, evening to you. Thanks for joining me. Like I say, everybody, get your comments, get your thoughts in. Let's rattle off a few topics then for discussion this evening, because there's a bit. Marty Cifuentes, the former QPR manager, who's been rumoured to be coming to King Power Stadium as our new manager for a few days now. It's been kind of rattling on since last week when there were other names in the frame, and then it all seemed to go a bit left field, and Marty Cifuentes, who wasn't even in the betting, appeared out of nowhere. Some rumours around that the club had been talking to him for a while, and actually the rest of it was just a backup plan. But the news coming out this afternoon is that compensation with QPR has been agreed. And that in fact, the rumour also says that Cifuentes himself is going to play half of the £500,000 that QPR want in terms of compensation. So if the rumours are true, the club's fitting half the bill, and the manager himself is actually playing the other half, which I don't think I've ever heard of before. What do you make of that? Let me know what you think. His visa is still required, apparently, so he can't just turn up for training tomorrow because there's still visa issues to sort out, and the same rumours say there's been some delays in getting a visa in. Doesn't really make massive amount of sense to me, if I'm honest, because he was at QPR a couple of months ago, so sure he had a visa. But anyway, it is what it is, and from what we're told, visa incoming, and he should be, all things being equal, on the plane to Austria with the team for their summer training camp in the build-up to the season. If my stats are right, because I had a bit of dig about before I came on this evening, of the four football divisions, the four main football divisions, we are the last club to appoint a manager for this coming season. What do you make of that? A lot of the other most of the other championship clubs, let's be honest, have had over 2 months since the championship regular season ended. And I guess they've all had a holiday, but they've had a good time and they're well into preparation. We're only just doing it, and we probably won't, from what the papers and the media are saying, Cifuentes won't be in place until the weekend. So, yes, looks like he's coming. According to reports, Sky Sports, etc., are all saying the compensation's done, and it's just a matter of paperwork, visa, etc. And Marty Cifuentes will then become the new manager of Leicester City. So, tell me what you think. It's been a long time coming. Seems to have been going on forever. I think Andy King personally has done a fairly decent job in pre-season so far. But yeah, it's time. It's well overdue time for us to get a manager in and start working towards some kind of formation strategy system, and you would have thought we could start then involving some comings and goings in terms of how this squad and this first team is going to look going into the first game against Sheffield Wednesday in not too long. It's about 28 days, is it now, before we get there? So get your thoughts in. Tell me about this manager, what you think, and what your thoughts are. Do you think we go okay under him? Do you think it's a good or bad thing for the club? Tell me what you think, and I'll share your comments, and we can get the conversation going. Players coming and going. Very little. Well, let's be honest, none so far. Just yet, nothing much doing. I picked up a little bit about a guy called Max Lowe from Sheffield Wednesday this afternoon, who apparently has told Sheffield Wednesday that he wants out because of their financial problems. It's rumoured we're in for him. He's a left back. That could be in conjunction maybe with Christensen leaving the club. But yeah, tell me what you think about that. Is that the sort of calibre of player we need? Is that what, is that going to take the club on? I know he's at Forest and he was part of that team that got Forest promoted from memory. But obviously I didn't think he was Premier League material, so they moved him on. So let me know what you think. And also let me know what you think, what players we really need to invest in, what positions that we need to strengthen. I'm guessing a good portion of you watched the Leuven game at the weekend, which I did sit and watch on and off, if I'm being honest, because it felt like it went on for an eternity. 4 halves of football back to back. All 30 players involved, apart from the ones that are injured. So yeah, tell me what you think about the game against Leuven, and what you think about Martí Cifuentes, which seems highly likely now that he's coming into the club at some point this week, and we'll have a new manager finally in place to start getting some structure to how we're going to look come into the new season. Right, some of your comments then. Tez, evening to you. Watch the friendly Saturday. The only thing Oliver skips, 25 million. What a waste of money. Well, yeah, interesting, Tez. I actually thought the best player for us on Saturday was Monga. I thought Monga, he played in the first group of players that kind of played the first 60 minutes of the game, and he looked the most dangerous, the most lively, the biggest threat, the most enthusiastic for the season to come for me. And I was impressed with him. Conversely, there were some other players. You're mentioning Skip there. Yeah, obviously got a lot to prove yet, given the price tag that he came to the club with. I thought Winks looked off colour on the weekend as well. It looked like he was a bit out of sorts, and that's going to be interesting to see what happens. Obviously fell out of favour under Van Nistelrooy for various reasons, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. In terms of Winks, and whether he's going to be part of the new manager's plans. And this new manager comes in, complete clean slate for everybody. Richie, evening to you. Good win for LCFC on Saturday in pre-season. Yeah, strange game. I don't think I've ever watched a game historically where there's kind of 4 halves of football played and everyone gets a go. But you would kind of assume that by that point that Cifuentes knew that this was very, very likely. And you would think if he wasn't kind of hiding in a suitcase somewhere, peering through the crack, watching the game at the training ground, he was at least sat somewhere on YouTube, taking it all in and having a good chance to see all of the players. I suppose from that point of view, in terms of giving the new manager coming in a chance to get a good look at all the players, it served a purpose. But yeah, it was a long watch, and I respect any of you that went and managed to sit through the whole thing, because it looked like the sun was baking down on you for most of the afternoon. Nick, evening to you. Can he turn up for training and go on the Austrian trip? But we just don't need to pay him for that period. Is it QPR we're responsible for his visa and we have to take that up now? So I think there's some talk about his visa being transferred or being amended in terms of it doesn't work for QPR now, works for Leicester. I think that may be the scenario we're in terms of the need to change the paperwork to show on his documents where he's employed. Obviously, all a symptom of Brexit and what have you, but let's not go down that route, shall we? What we got here? Baz, evening to you, mate. Typical Leicester, leave everything to the last minute. The new manager has no time, no leeway. And if we all start slow the fans stick for his head, got to get behind him, whoever he is. I think I agree with you, Baz, in terms of they've obviously had a look at a few managers. This guy, I guess, if you believe the rumours they like, that he was the initial target. It's taken some time to get over the line because of all sorts of issues with QPR and our own financial challenges. We've not got, as I guess we all understand, a mass of money to be hurling at things anymore. We've got to be far more careful, or else we're just going to get charged by the EFL again for overspending. So, it's taken some time. But the one thing I do like about this guy, if it's true, is that he's willing to put his own money in to make it happen. And that tells me that he must feel that this is a very good opportunity for him and his career. And even with all of the kind of negativity that's been around the club for the last 12 months or so, he must feel there's a very good chance of doing something decent at Leicester next season. And that, for me, fills me with a little bit of hope for the season to come. And he's clearly passionate about Leicester and the project that's to come. Chris, evening to you. We need some championship experience to complement our youth. Yeah, good point, Chris. I guess there's a nucleus, and I was going to bring this up. There's a nucleus of players at Leicester now that are either not going to want to be at the club anymore, and I know that's a kind of deep conversation in terms of whether maybe they don't deserve to be, or they haven't really given us much, and blah 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 blah. But they all, in their own heads, think they're better than the Championship. And you can imagine the kind of nucleus of players I'm talking about. This is going to be your Faz, your Samares, etc., that have kind of been around the club for a while, been in and out of the team, have been out on loan and come back in. In Samares' case, have shown glimmers of, certainly with Vestergaard in the Championship winning season, he was a constant and fairly positive part of that team, but drifted out of the team again last season. These sorts of players are on a good salary, and there's rumours around the club that we're going to have to sell and get some players out and off the wage bill in order to invest in new players this season. And I think, looking for players that are hungry and enthusiastic about playing in the Championship next season has got to be the way forward. And that brings me nicely, evening Wayne, on to another subject I wanted to talk about with you all, which is we definitely need a new striker. Well, Wayne, I couldn't agree more. We're in a bit of a situation, aren't we? Let's be honest. Jamie Vardy was obviously at the game on Saturday watching from the balcony with his family. He's no longer with the club. And we let Tom Cannon go, obviously, during the course of last season. There isn't, apart from the kids, and let's be honest, if we're going back to that Leuven game, I think the kids, both in that and in the Peterborough game the week before, displayed a lot of ability and gave me a little bit of enthusiasm for the fact that we've got that nucleus of young talent around the club. We need a striker. I absolutely agree, Wayne. We desperately need at least one to come in and bolster the lineup and lead the line for me. I think Patson Deck has had ample opportunity both in the Championship and in the Premier League, and has never really, for whatever reason, managed to nail holding down a first team place. So I think we desperately need a striker. I absolutely agree. Richard, evening to you. We need a reboot. Farming a team that's not just Championship, but going into the Prem, we have half a chance. Yeah, I agree. And I think, Richard, for me, building a team mentality, a team spirit, a togetherness. I think we lost a bit of that over the last couple of seasons. And we've lost a little bit of that kind of togetherness that we had and coherency amongst the club. And I think we need to get that back. And whichever manager Cifuentes obviously most likely comes in. That's going to be one of the biggest challenges for him is to kind of build that mentality and that spirit again. We seem to have been kind of pulled and pushed around a lot of changes in manager, and the whole thing needs bringing back together. So yeah, I absolutely agree that makes complete sense to me too. Nick, I think the plan for a new manager is we'll have a points deduction or a transfer embargo. Just keep us in the division next season. Realism has to kick in here. Promotion is not a must this year. Well, Nick, I suppose that depends on what happens, doesn't it? In terms of there's lots to talk about points deductions, and not just one, but potentially two. Worst case scenario, we could end up kind of minus 12 points for a ball's been kicked, or minus 12 points 2 months after a ball's been kicked. Who knows? But it's difficult, and it must be difficult for the manager to come in, not really, and for players potentially that might want to join the club to understand what things are going to look like at Leicester this season. I mean, I absolutely agree with you. If there's a points deduction coming, then I guess that completely changes the aspirations, depending on how severe that points deduction is in terms of severity. 6 points, 2 games, not the end of the world. Double that, and it's 4 games, and that makes a big piece of catching up for us to do against a nucleus of teams that will be at the top, you would think. And don't forget the teams that have not long been relegated with us as well, that are all going to be, you'd think, challenging for promotion next season. George, evening to you. You're saying wouldn't surprise me if Vardy comes back. Well, George, that would be a very interesting turn of events, wouldn't it? Jamie Vardy left the club at the end of the season. Some of that, I believe, or I suspect, is because of his wages, and with his age. Obviously the biggest one at the club. We've got to get our wage bill down, and the club will be looking at it thinking, well, actually, we can get 2 or 3 players in for that money and strengthen the squad potentially, or just make the saving and try and bring our finances down to a level where we don't keep season after season getting charged with breaches of PSR, which is, as we all know, needs to come to an end fairly quickly. We can't keep getting hammered by the football authorities, who seem to be taking great pleasure in rubbing our noses in it every time they get a chance. With things really that bad, the company, is King Power still going to own LCFC? Chris, evening to you. Well, there's a question. In terms of, there's rumours going around about the ownership and the ownership's business and the challenges that they've got. It's clearly a factor, you would think, in the thinking at the minute, at least to a degree. Who knows? There is, again, rumours swirl around about other people coming in and buying, by investing in Leicester City and what have you. Who knows what will happen? But I guess for now we have to cut our plans and make our plans based on King Power owning the football club, and we have to bring things into some sort of system financially that allows us to operate in that genre. With what we've got, and there is still a lot of very highly paid players at the club earning a wage. Patrick, evening to you. Surely transfer embargo for this window would have been announced. Yeah, that's a good point, Patrick. You would have thought by now, if they were going to slap a transfer embargo on us, it would have happened already. Leicester, although, have got quite a history of tying the football authorities up in knots lately, and you wonder whether they've not got the same lawyer with his head down in the books again, trying to find an escape route. We've done it before. You wouldn't think it'd be likely we get away with it again, but you never know. They might find another way to get away with it, which I'm sure would infuriate the authorities even more than they are already with us. But you just don't know, do you? You just don't know what might happen. And I agree with you. If there'd been a transfer embargo, you think it would have happened by now, and the club would have, if anything, kind of rushed to get on with business in terms of getting players in before that happened. So I guess that's probably not a threat in terms of this summer, at least. Wayne, one thing that is vital is a good start. Points on table early. Yeah, I agree with you, Wayne. It sets the tone for the season. Be interesting to see what the team looks like, and it's very difficult at the minute to kind of guess what that team's going to look like. Cifuentes is another one that's that likes to play not a too dissimilar system to Maresca. He's got that kind of Guardiola-esque European sort of type approach to football. Didn't do anything spectacular at QPR, but certainly averted relegation there, which looked quite likely at one point when he was brought in. So, and his career before QPR is in Scandinavia with a Swedish top flight club. He was at Aalborg in Denmark as well for a period of time. I think he managed a little bit in Norway as well, and then before that, a lot of minor clubs in Spain around the Barcelona area. So he's not had a spectacular CV in terms of his previous clubs, but he did a decent job at QPR. And from the bits I've heard of QPR fans that have been asked about him in recent times, when Leicester media have been kind of asking QPR fans what they think of him, all of them have got a positive opinion of the guy. So that's a good thing to hear. That there isn't a lot of negativity coming out of QPR, and that tells me, and let's not forget, despite all of the negativity, despite all of the problems, despite all of the financials and we still have a very capable, good squad that's in a nucleus of clubs, you would suggest, that's kind of in the top 4 or 5 clubs in that league minimum. So Cifuentes, you would think, would be very, very optimistic about getting us, at the top of the league, somewhere in and around the top of the league next season, and pushing for at minimum a playoff place, and even better, let's hope for automatic promotion. Rich is saying, Simon, what do you think of Cifuentes? Well, Richie, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know masses about the guy. I've done a bit of research on him as the rumours grown, and it's looked more likely. As I say, his career is largely at smaller clubs than ours, with lower aspirations and lower ambitions. This will be the biggest challenge of his career to date. Certainly, if some of the rumours about points deductions become true, that will make it even more tricky. There is going to be, even with all of the situation that's gone off at the club over the last 12 months or so, there is going to be a level of expectation amongst the fan base in terms of being in that kind of top 6 as a kind of bottom line, I guess. And if we ended up lingering kind of mid-table, then I wouldn't imagine, it's going to go too great for him. There's going to be a lot of frustration around. I think this guy's ambitious. He's putting his money, Richie, where his mouth is. He's willing to pay part of his compensation to get out and get to Leicester. He's clearly agreed a deal with the club, and we know the club's not got a huge war chest in terms of money at the minute, so that will probably be more modest than some of the deals for the likes of Van Nistelrooy and what have you that have gone before. So I like that about him, because that tells me that he wants the job, he believes in the job, and he's passionate about his own ability and the fact that he can, kind of right the wrongs of what's gone on at our club lately. So I'm kind of basing my optimism, if I'm honest, on that rather than his previous football pedigree, because, like I say, most of it is a little bit lower than the level that Leicester certainly has been at in the last 10 years. George, evening to you. 14-1 to win the league, 4-1 to be promoted. Must be a large point deduction. Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised, George, that we're 14-1 to win the league. You would have thought we would be a little bit shorter odds than that. So yeah, I guess that's the bookies. They're always a little bit cautious. Let's be honest, hedging their bets and making sure that that if a points deduction comes, or they're anticipating it at least, that those odds are are the way they are. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Will it really work if Kingy stays on as a coach? I don't think it will. Armchair Jockey, good evening to you. Interesting one, that. I'd like to see, personally, Andy King stay. I think I've listened to the bits he's done for the club lately in terms of media. I've seen what the team's done under him in the last couple of games, albeit I know they've been fitness games more than performance in terms of trying to get a result. They've been more about getting miles in the legs of the players and getting them fit. I like the way he speaks. He's clearly an intelligent guy. He is really, I guess, if he does stay, the link between the kind of the Premier League winning Leicester City and this management team. And he understands the club. He understands the fans. He understands the fibre of the club. And I think for that reason, I'd really like him to stay. And I also think he's a very bright, intelligent young coach as well. And I think he's got a bright future in management to come. So for me, if Cifuentes can keep him within the coaching structure, I'd like that. I'm guessing that the club are working with QPR in trying to get Cifuentes' backroom team out of QPR and into Leicester City. So I'm guessing that's also part of this week in terms of the club trying to negotiate Cifuentes' team out of QPR and into Leicester City Football Club. So that might be also part of this week in terms of not announcing him as a manager. But yeah, for me, if King could stay, I very much hope he does, and kind of is that kind of link between the old and the new, as it were. Terence, evening to you. New shirt sponsors Poundland, right? Okay. Actually, funny enough, we played Walsall last season, didn't we? In the Carabao Stroke League, whatever it is, Cup. It was an awful game. I was there, and they're sponsored by Poundland. And in fact, their stadium's called the Poundland Stadium, which I thought was quite amusing at the time when I went there. And they've got it across all the front of their shirts as well, which, as a fan, wouldn't really encourage me to go out and buy the home shirt with Poundland splashed all across the front of it. But anyway, I guess it helps pay the bills. But yeah, I get the joke. Steve, evening to you. The high earners know they'll be sold, but will hold out until late in the window, so they go for a smaller fee, sadly. Well, Steve, if that's true, that I think is going to cause us a problem, because it's largely understood that we need to move players out in order to free up both wages and transfer funds to bring new players in. If the likes of the players that I've already mentioned decide to sit on their hands and wait for the last minute, then that will leave us no latitude to go out and get the players that we need to make sure we're competing at the right end of the league. So I hope that's not true. I absolutely think that you might be right, certainly with some of them, but I very much hope that's not true, and we get a chance to move those players out that we don't want for next season, that are on high wages, and get some hungry talent in that can have a positive impact on our championship campaign. Gary, good evening to you. What happened to Vestergaard? Not seen him at all. Has he gone? Well, there was a rumour, Gary, the other day that he was busy walking his dog. But we won't go there, because I suppose that's an old joke, and it's time we moved on from that. However, I don't know. I'm not really sure what's going on with Vestergaard. What I can tell you is that every manager we've had since Vestergaard's been at the club, he's fallen out with. And that's quite a feat, really, because we've had a few since Yannick's been at the club, but he's managed to do that somehow. I don't know where he is. I can't answer that question. He could be one of the ones that was playing on international duty and he's working his way back in. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And there are quite a few sponsor comments coming in now. And Red Bull, or was it splashed everywhere in the last game because Jamie Vardy was there? Maybe Red Bull have missed the boat, Chris, because Jamie Vardy and his Red Bull guzzling days are obviously over at the club. Are BC Game no longer our sponsors? Is there something new here? Was that deal a Premier League deal that changes? I know there was some controversy about it during the course of last season because the parent company of BC Game was apparently in financial trouble. Who knows? I'm reliably informed that the new shirt's coming towards the back end of this week. So I guess the sponsor, if there is one, will be on the new shirt. And you know, this week's, let's face it, a revelation for Leicester City fans. It sounds like we're going to get a new manager and a new shirt. Tick and tick. All we need now is 3 or 4 or 5 new players, and we're away and up and running. Let's hope it happens sooner rather than later, and we can start getting our heads down and getting into a bit of momentum to take into that first game against Sheffield Wednesday. Mark, can't have gambling sponsors in the Championship. Okay, if that's true, that's an education for me, and explains why BC Game can't be on the front of our shirts. Who knows? I don't know. Could well be King Power again, I'm guessing. I know, obviously, the last time we went down to the Championship a couple of seasons ago, King Power ended up on the front of our shirts again. I'd imagine they're going to want some revenue this time, because they're going to need to try and build that balance sheet as strong as they possibly can do. So I can't imagine that will happen again, but we'll see. Anything's possible at Leicester City Football Club, as we all know. So we're at 8 o'clock. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Not miss Phil too much, sitting in for Phil. I believe Phil is back in the saddle next Monday, when the club will obviously be over in Austria by then, hopefully with the manager in place, and then there'll be a new shirt to talk about and all of that stuff, and we'll actually have something a little bit more solid and structured to talk about in a week's time. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm Simon. I'm sitting in for Phil tonight. As usual, you'll be able to catch Jamie on the Aftermath show on Sunday. And as I said, Phil will be back on Monday, back in the saddle again as normal. Myself and Jono normally do the Thursday night show. We'll be bringing that back to life over the next couple of weeks as we start to build into the new season. Me and Jono will be back in the saddle on a Thursday night at 7:30. Thanks ever so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your comments and for joining in. That really helps me. So thank you very much. Have a great evening. And I'd imagine by the next time Leicester Fan TV goes live, we'll have a new manager. Take care, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
The Leicester City machine is on the march again.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content like fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live, thanks to our sponsors, Everard's, Pucker Pies, Hologram, Take Me, Newbie & Co, and the Fox's Arms.
Want to watch more content like this? Hit the like button. Give us your views. Hit subscribe to Leicester Fan TV, and make sure to follow Leicester Fan TV on all socials.